Hey guys, I haven't recorded in a while, but I've been trying out a lot of Byzantines. They're really cool with their cavalry, kind of the early play that you can do with them. So I kind of really wanted to get proficient with the Byzantines. I want to get proficient too with Japan and the Iobits. I haven't touched the Iobits yet because they're really broken right now with the Gamba Wing. So there's going to be some patches there. So I don't really want to touch that so it gets balanced. Japan is really cool, and I want to be able to get onto them and start playing them as well. But I haven't really done much with Japan besides some masteries and a little bit of an infantry build, and that's about it. A little bit I played around with their cav, with the Onamusha and their bannermen and some mounted samurai, and it's a really good army. I do like it. It's just decided to hop on Byzantines first. Byzantines have a really interesting opening. I pumped out I think like 3 or so build order videos for them, and the more and more I played them, the more they seem like they're just kind of the middle of a road. They don't really excel in doing kind of like a blind or a set build. I think they're more of a middle road of a flexible, adaptive civ. So as you can see, this is the worst win rate I've ever had. 50, 53, 50, 49, 55. I've had like up to 60% win rates, right? So yeah, I've been playing a ton of Byzantines, and it's just been it's just been defeats. There's tons of defeats. Look at this, 2. These are all skirmishes, but here's ranks. So I've been having a ton of losses here. This doesn't show all of them for whatever reason. Yeah, it's missing some of them. So we lost a bunch. But that being said, I think they're a really good middle of the road flexible civ. So we're just gonna go over some of these games that we won, and this is where we kind of stopped doing our pre-built orders, our 2 TCs, our trade builds, and we decided to do just 1 TC flexibility. And 1 TC aggro into flexibility. So we're going to drop our cistern immediately, and we're going to rally our next villager onto our gold. This villager shift queues a house and a mining camp. That part of the build is still consistent throughout everything. The one build I haven't tried, and I don't really think about trying or doing, is the Dark Age Cistern Rush. I think you're overcommitting into something. You're taking away a lot of your early aggressive tempo, and it's pretty important, I feel like, that you keep kind of a little bit of an edge on your opponent early on, making them react because with their spearmen, and that's like the only reaction that you can really force. I feel like with Byzantines is force the barracks and spears, and while you react to what they do, and you actually react super quickly and super well because of the cisterns that you have, you can tech switch very quickly, and yeah, that's kind of the premise. And then your eco, as long as you're on 2, like for example, if my opponent was going 2 TC, if they do a 2 TC rush, right? So they got a TC up at 4 or 5 minutes. As long as I scout that, I'm going to be able to get a second TC. Like my eco is going to keep up as long as I'm on cistern level 3 or C3 up until like 9 minutes of the game. So as long as I get a TC up by 9 minutes, a reactive second TC, I'm still in it with my opponent. He's not actually ahead. Like the number count might be ahead, the vil count might be ahead, but because of the cistern bonuses, we're actually even for the course. So that's why I feel like Byzantines, they're a middle of the road. Trying to take them specialized into one thing isn't really working because they don't really excel in one thing. The trade is okay, but it takes too long to scale. Your returns on olive oil aren't great enough. So I played them a bunch, and you're just a little bit short of what you need to be successful. And 2 TC as well, just raw 2 TC rush. If your opponent goes raw 2 TC rush, it's fine. But if your opponent doesn't go raw 2 TC rush, goes fast castle or 1 TC aggro, it's really hard to pull off. So Byzantines doesn't do it good enough, I think, to want to do it blind, and it's better to just go 1 TC aggro and flexibility in most cases. So that being said, 2 TC rush against certain meta, against perhaps an Abbasid that is going to go at least 2 TCs, is going to be worth it, right? So there's definitely going to be some matchups where it's going to be worth it. But for general, just ranked, I'm finding a lot more success with 1 TC aggro and just flexibility from there. So one thing that I do need to do a little bit better, I need to do a different scouting pattern. I need a little bit nicer scouting pattern I'm currently doing. We should really go up the middle. So kind of a bad habit I've developed doing my skirmishes and collecting sheep like I have been, trying to avoid sheep from picking it up from the AI. But I need a little bit of a better scouting pattern. So we go on our villagers on food, and then we send... we went up to 9 villagers on food because this is now a hippodrome rush. And then we make 3 villagers onto wood, and we're actually up to 4. And we're not committing any villagers onto stone yet. And one thing that I've done is these villagers that finish the hippodrome will now rotate onto stone. I don't know if I'm going to do all 4 or if I'm going to do 3. Yeah, so just 2. Okay, so we got 2 onto stone and 2 into wood. And this really balances out my eco. I'm a little bit behind on food here, and that's actually probably something I probably could have done a little bit better. We scout our opponent's gold or stone here, and at this point, like if you scout your opponent's stone, right, you know if they're going second TC or if they're going for a blind second TC. At which point you can rotate your eco to do a second TC. It's gonna be technically later than your opponent's, but it doesn't matter. For them to actually pull ahead, you've got basically up to 9 minutes of a window to just drop a second TC, which is fine, or push, one or the other. It's totally up to you what you're going to want to do. The later their TC, the more this window also postpones as well. So that being said, our C2, our second system, is a little bit delayed. We are pulling our villager from stone, and he's going to drop it. And once we get this, that additional 5% is going to be basically 1 more additional villager to our eco count. Over here, we get some aggro in with the horseman, and this is kind of the key here: getting a horseman, getting your expilatores upgrade, and getting some damage in. Even with 1 horseman, with that extra damage and triumph popped, you start doing a lot of damage on these villagers, so you can get a pretty easy kill. And our opponent does an unconventional build, dropping this king out for the raid. Again, not like we can't directly fight it, but we gotta have numbers. Triumph is huge though. Like, we were basically healed up. We got 20 gold from this, so our upgrade is a quarter of the way of paying for itself already. And behind this, we've dropped a barracks because we're so heavy on wood, and we're dropping a range. So that's kind of the key to this this Byzantine, is flexibility. So you want to get a 1-1-1 base pretty much as soon as you can. In some cases, obviously you won't have to because your opponent won't make anything like that. But if you're not entirely sure what they're going to do, I mean, our opponent's got a king out, which is cavalry. So I got to deal with that with spearmen. And it's English, so he's almost guaranteed going to go longbow, and he's going to go spears because he sees my horseman. And as we see, he's got that going. We thought maybe he might go into a cav play because he's got the king out, but either way, a couple of spearmen's not going to hurt our army to help defend us against this king. We brought our horseman back. We're trying to find this king. We didn't know that he was right back here, and we were looking for him. We didn't find him, so we just head back, and we're going to go raid. We figure that's just going to be better. We have a scout on the back here. We're trying to keep tabs on how many villagers on gold he has. We do send a villager back here to wall to prevent any sneaky business with the king. Sure as shit, king's back here doing some sneaky business, and he does pick off a villager, which is a good little raid for him, right? But behind this, we have our first spearman. 12-second production time. So the cisterns really help with this. We also only have 1 villager dedicated on the stone, and we're going to get our 3rd cistern now. Our opponent behind this is going to start rotating for a second TC, so it's a super late transition to second TC, and we are spotting this now, right? So we see him on here. click on here, we see that he's going on to this, and we're going to get a nice little villager kill. We're about halfway for paying for our upgrade that we spent, and now we're 3/4 of the way paying for the upgrade. And it's actually more gold return than we got, so we basically converted our 50 gold into 60. There's obviously a different cost to that upgrade, but overall, I think as long as you get 3 villager kills, you're pretty happy with getting that upgrade always. So, and the damage is huge, right? The amount of pressure you can get out of the villager kills. So, we're adding villagers. We do get this wall finally built because we're not sure where his king is at, and we have a couple of spearmen. So that's one big thing, especially if there's a king or a knight civ. It's having a couple of spearmen. I do a bad job. I'm trying to protect my wood line. I forget to protect my gold villagers here, so a little bit of a mistake on my part. And we're going to group up our scout and our horsemen. With this scout, we want to be able to dive onto this gold and get some damage in where we can. And we commit a villager to build this wall. I think it was 150 wood, 170 wood, 150, 170, so one production building. But with this knight running around and stuff, it's going to really help walling this off. We have this walled off, so now our access is between this wood line here and our production. So I do like this kind of defensive posture. Since I've been playing Byzantines, learning how to play defensively, playing with infantry, it's a different rhythm, it's a different pace with the infantry coming across the map, supporting them, reinforcing them. Your templates for your pushes and everything is a little bit different. With all cavalry, it's much more my style. Something I much more like is being able to hit, pull back, pull armies away, and be a little bit more tactical. And with infantry, you still do it, but it's a lot slower and it's a different tempo. So I've been getting used to that for sure. One big thing is keeping your infrastructure going, dropping a blacksmith, dedicating one of your cisterns. Like this one is currently dedicated to Dialectus, and this other one is dedicated to Conscriptio. And that's why I'm dropping the blacksmith over here, and I'll eventually drop a production building of each kind onto here. That way I can get all my upgrades very quickly. When it comes to that. Something that do mess up, I haven't dropped my 3rd cistern, so I'm doing other things, and we should be up to 3 cisterns at this point. One interesting thing is because he has gone for the delayed TC, he hasn't dropped it yet. So again, we're just significantly ahead. We're at 32 villagers, but at the 10% buff, we're actually at 35 and you know, it's some change. So being 3 villagers, a villager or 2 ahead basically this whole time is big, besides the destroyed value of the villager kills, right? So we see his army was forming up here. We're massing up archers. We do a little bit of a poor job not getting enough villagers onto wood here, and we start floating a ton of food. So something that I should have been doing was making more spearmen here. These 4 here to defending the base is fine, but I could have made more to come up to the front here with the rest of the army. We're trying to find a point of attack over here, and we don't. We see walls throughout, so we're just gonna burn down. I don't know if we have our upgrade. Yeah, we do have our scout upgrade. So bring your scout, and that's gonna help that your torch are doing 16 damage, and it really does increase that burn down time significantly. So his army's pushing. I would leave it on my camera so you guys can kind of see. So I know he's going for 2 TC, but again, I'm not super pressed because I know I've got till the 9-minute mark. We're at 11-minute mark. He might be dropping it soon, but I'm going up to 3 cisterns. So for the payoff of this to come back, for him to be ahead, it's going to take a minute now because he's very delayed. So if you're getting a like he hasn't even dropped it yet, right? So if you're getting a 12-minute TC, I thought he probably had dropped it right now-ish, but it looks like he's actually more like at a 12-minute TC. I probably have till 16. So we get an attack up here. You dive on his wood line. We're going to get a nice little pick here, but we do see his army is pushing us. So he picks up some reinforcements here, and we're going to bring our army back, and we're just going to pull our horsemen out and through. So there's no reason to stay here and fight this. A little bit of a misplay here, getting those hits in by that spearman. And we're just going to rally our troops. Luckily, we do have a small defending force here. And the big thing is, because we have this faster production here, which is now 15 seconds. Now we're talking 9-second archers, 11 seconds limitani. You can produce and be very flexible in terms of what do I need here to counter this, right? So you can start producing the units that you need to counter very quickly. And probably would have been best to get my +1 before my +2, but again, not in the world because it's on Dialectus, and it's gonna do very quickly. My upgrades are now 24 seconds, so that's huge, right? We're gonna snipe out his spearmen here. our little bit of a horsemen that were here are going to fight this, and he pushes very forward to fight us. His knight dives, or his king dives very heavy onto us. We should have dropped our Aquatoy defense to defend our villagers here. We don't, and he does pull back. So this is kind of what I mean by flexibility, is that you can get your upgrades that you need last second very quickly. This is coming in like 15 seconds, siege engineer. My troops are coming in at 10 seconds. So by the time I see you here and you get to here, if I have the resources for it, I could have 6 units pumped out immediately from here, and probably even 2 units from here too. I could have like 8 units with these 4 production buildings. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of like how you can deal with an opponent, and that. One thing to always keep track of is your food. So we are going out onto berries. Try to avoid, just like any other civ, going onto farms too early. We're just going onto farms because we kind of have to here. Fully going onto pocket eco, I think it's strong, but trying to slowly transition into farms is also a good thing because it gives you some stability in your food income, that it's not going to dip below a certain point. And we're going up to 4 cisterns here. He is on the second TC. He is producing double vills. But if we look at like just the, it's a late second TC, so we knew we were okay in terms of that flexibility. And we're on 3 right now. We're going to go up to 4, but we're on 3. And so that's giving us 15%. So that's what, 4, 6. So we're at 49 villagers to his 30. So we're almost 20 villagers ahead at this point. And I've only killed 5. So he's obviously cut off some unit production, but it's it's a big difference. So the cisterns, they give you that flexibility of not having to invest into 2TC and being able to react to a 2TC, right? Get your aggro out, and you still have a timing window where you can always drop that second TC and react to it. So that's really where I think the strength of the Byzantines lie, is the 1TC and pivot. 1TC, because you do it well because of the systems, right? It really allows you to scale quite well. And now we're going to get this additional cistern out, and now we're going to get an additional 5%. So that's another 2.5 villagers worth of production that we're going to get. We can tell that our opponent's food is suffering. He's only got 11 on food. He really committed to that military push, and yeah, he's kind of in dire straits at this point. One bad aspect is that we are playing currently because our elo tanked so hard. We're at 1200 elo, so we're at platinum elo right now. So this is like, I think I was ranked plat 1 when I played this. Like, we're in a tough spot, but in terms of our elo, but our opponents are going to be fairly easy to beat this first time. They're going to be making a lot of mistakes, and we're 2-pronged attacks. Don't want to commit here, and we are going to build a Cairo Siphon. Very good RAM, really strong RAM. It's a little bit more expensive because of the gold cost, but your ability to don't engage these spears, right? Longbowmen are sniping us. We drop our Triumph. It's got another 13 seconds, so it's going to really heal up quite a bit. But the Cairo Siphons are great because the initial damage is slow, right? The first couple of seconds is slower than a ram, but then it really starts to kick. And then if there's tight enemy buildings, the area of effect of the flames is really good. So you actually get a lot more DPS out of this than you do a regular ram. It's like if you're hitting one like this lumber camp, I think if you're hitting this middle house, all these houses catch on fire. So it's a pretty good ability. And we'll see kind of here with the damage that gets done. We can see that these 3 behind are full health. And then you're going to see, yes, this archery range right next to it just dropped a bunch. Yeah, and it's dropping health. So this is why this is a really good RAM. It allows you to take down tight, compact defensive bases. Behind this, we're trying to get through the front here. He's committing to a front push. We do have our shield wall activated, which is going to make our spearmen deal with these the longbow fire a lot better, though his longbows are focusing on my archers, and we're not worried about that. We're trying to take down the archers because we want this Cairo Siphon to stay up as much as possible, and our horses are coming around the flank. We try to burn this down. He committed villagers to repairing, so we're just going to hit the front. So again, all of this is sustained by a force cistern that we didn't rush, we didn't force. It just naturally comes in with minimal macro invested, and we can invest all of our our play into our army and reacting and seeing what our opponents are doing and going from there. So that's kind of the big thing with the Byzantines, is just a very reactionary type of a gameplay. We haven't even touched his archery range one time, and the Kaiser's burnt 2 of them down while he's been working on his... he's only really been able to attack 2 buildings, right? So that's really the strength of this type of ram, is that for tight defensive structures, you can get a lot of value here. So we're just diving here. He's pretty much dead. We've got a second ram on the way, and we've got enough macro behind us to keep flooding units. So I'm sure this match is about to finish out shortly. Yeah, shortly. Hopefully the second ram convinces him to quit. He's still got a woodland here, so I don't know. Maybe he's thinking he's in a better spot. He's got 20 villagers idle, so... Alright, so that was that match. And, one thing that I wanted to show you guys was just what I mean by not rushing the cisterns. So I think if you rush the cisterns, you lose a lot of your aggressive timing. You're losing basically your time up, or your age up time. If you're rushing 2 cisterns, your age up time is about 30 seconds ish later. If you're rushing 2 cisterns, if you rush 3 cisterns, it's probably right around there as well. 35 seconds later. Maybe, maybe the 2 cistern rushes maybe a little bit faster than that as well. But either way, I'm pretty sure 3 cisterns is like 40 seconds later, 45 seconds. But yeah, I'd have to remember. I don't do those builds enough to really have a good benchmark off the top of my head. But this is kind of why I avoid doing that. As the Byzantines, you get passive stone. So on building infrastructure, which you're going to be doing, and you're getting a good boost with your eco, but rushing that boost when you only have a couple of villagers doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, it's nice to get it, maybe perhaps that part of your base building out of the way, but I don't think it's something you're going to have to continue doing throughout the game. You're going to have to drop more cisterns and get used to, in the middle of the game, expanding your aqueduct system. So I don't think you're really gaining much by avoiding that. And I think you're costing your timing a little bit too much for a minimal eco gain. The difference is like a minute of like a half of a villager or one more villager worth of eco. So it's really not that big of a difference. In the grand scheme of things, another minute or 2 of one more villager versus a couple more units hitting at 30 seconds sooner is it can be a very big difference, especially in early game. So our opponent is playing HRE. I think it's probably like my first time playing HRE in this patch. So I was curious to see how I was going to be able to deal, because Fast Castle is kind of like the HRE play. Not always, but typically. And Himayama is an interesting map because of the water in the opening. Here we're doing more of a competitive opener in terms of our scouting. We come out the middle and then come back to our side. Try to drop off sheep before 2 minutes. You will run out of sheep fairly quickly. Kind of like the Mongols. You need to be back by 2 minutes to drop off here, because these villagers are on sheep and they're also buffed 5%. So it adds up. There's 9 villagers. They're almost worth 10. Real close to being worth 10, right? So they're 10% is 0.9, so 0.45 of a villager, right? So we're gonna drop our hippodrome again, 3 villagers or 4 villagers. Keep our 5 villagers on here, and we're gonna just rally villagers onto wood. We do like having the 9 villagers on this opening. That one more villager helps that food bank be large enough to get an immediate horseman out. I've played around with the build. Maybe we'll check the next one out too, but I played around with the build a little bit. I still haven't established, I guess, what is my go-to in terms of what I want to do. My build order for this 1 TC kind of vanilla. Whether I go up to 6 on food, 4 on wood, 5 on wood, etc. So that's just kind of something I still kind of have to feel out a little bit. But it is nice to have plenty of villagers on wood. And we're rotating a villager onto stone a little bit earlier. Last time we did it during age up. This time we're rallying our our 4 villagers back to food, and we're making 1 villager go onto stone right now. And I don't think we go up to a second villager. I think, yeah, we'd rally back onto food. So we really want to focus aggression here because we are playing against HRE. So I didn't want my hippodrome production to really stall out. And I keep these villagers on gold so I could get my border settlements upgrade, which is actually pretty important. The earlier you get it, the better, because the more likely, the easier it pays for itself, because these guys will build these houses just so much faster, right? So you're spending the amount of time that 1 villager spends is how much resources you've lost. So it does pay for itself after like 8 houses or something like that. So so the sooner you get it, the better. Oh yeah, we scout. We see he's got nobody on gold. So this is very different from what you typically see from HRE. This means he's not doing a fast castle play. This is either a feudal age all-in, which is highly unlikely. It's more likely a 2 TC play, is my assumption here. But this is probably going to be 2 TC. So we're going to rally our horsemen just to the front of this base for now. We're going to bring back our scout, finish scouting over here, drop off the sheep. We don't want to run out of sheep. As you can see, we're starting to run out. And we're going to drop this back off and come back. We kind of knew what was happening here. And so one thing that I kind of switch up on the build, specifically because we're playing against HRE, and this is kind of that adaptation. This is why I think we're such a flexible civ. If you just pause right here, we haven't rushed our second cistern. We have a villager heading over to build the second cistern right now, right? The guy who's been collecting stone by himself. He's going to drop the second cistern now. But if we look at the villager counts right now, I haven't invested in second cistern at all, basically, except for 1 villager, right? Minimal. I'm not rushing it. And I've gotten constant production out of my hippodrome. I'm getting my expilatores upgrade. I've got a horseman out. I got a second horseman out. Third one on the way. Villager production hasn't stopped. So I'm in a really strong spot in terms of my aggression, right? I haven't lost any tempo in my aggression. Right now, with a 3 cistern rush, your first horseman would be hitting across here, right? Well, sure, nothing's happening on this gold, right? But technically, I could have been raiding on the back here on this guy's stone. And I'm bringing my horseman over and across, right? But that's the thing. The difference on this timing is actually pretty important. Now, he's really over collecting on stone and stuff, and his second TC should be already dropped and tapping up. So he's not obvious. I mean, it's plat, so that's kind of the thing. But the earlier your timing, your aggression is, the better. You have a better chance to catch any greedy play. And our eco against every other civ, right? Perhaps in a Byzantine mirror, and they rush triple cistern. Okay, yeah, now they're on 15%. At this point in the game, they're at 15% better eco. So they're at 3 additional villages. So they're at 23 villages. So they're 2 villages ahead. But against every other civ that exists, right now we're at a 5% buff. So we're an additional villager ahead. It's 21 to 20 right now, which is a little weird. So I missed a villager. Or my villager's about to pop out, so I'm just a little bit late on my villager timing, right? So I'm actually going to be a villager ahead of him. And that's about to drop to a second villager. So we don't lose tempo is the big thing with this build. You don't lose tempo. You're still going to get your cisterns going. They're just a little bit delayed. So there's a small window where in a Byzantine mirror, they're going to be a little bit ahead. Because to focus that much early eco into it, it just slows your scaling down significantly. It slows your aggressive tempo down significantly. So we go to the back of his base. We confirm that he's going to go for a second TC. Now, we have no idea that he pulled villagers down here to drop it. But wasn't too pressed. I'm going to drop a tower over here to prevent this outpost from coming, to keep him off of his gold. I know he's got a back gold in here. So I just want to secure this, and then we're going to try to secure this back here. And we don't see that this TC pops in, which would have been big if he did spot this. So he does try to aggro onto us with the scout. He doesn't want this tower to come up, which is okay. Behind this, we're rallying more villagers onto food. We're stopped at 7 villagers on wood, which is a pretty good amount to be able to do what we want. He pulls villagers to try to drop a tower, and this is kind of like a plat level play. I don't think anyone in higher either would ever do this, but because I have this early tempo and aggression out, I've got 5 horsemen out, right? 4 of them are here already. we're getting gold for killing these guys. There's no way this finishes. It comes up and he pulls a ton of villagers, right? And he just wants to like force tap this up. So I don't know what he's thinking, especially since our tower is pretty much done. He does say GG after this moment, but he decides to keep playing. So it's a little bit of a troll moment from our opponent, but whatever. So he's 10 villagers down. So at this point, we can't even look at this up here because it's not comparable to a normal game. The game is over pretty much 100% at this point. Our opponent has gone 2 TC. It's a little bit late, but you can see, like, we'll see the timing here and act like we haven't killed 11 villagers. Let's act like we only killed 1, right? Which is a lot more plausible and likely, right? You can probably get 1 vill snipe here and there. We should have rotated these guys over and around. We committed to burning this down, which was just a bad move. This was... He said GG, so I stopped playing. So, but yeah, what we should have done is just kept going around and shut off this next one, right? So a little bit of a troll moment by our opponent. Behind this, we're T2. We dropped the barracks, and I was just kind of chilling, and then I noticed he's not actually tapping out. So he tried to like mind game us into into stop playing, which we almost did. So we keep playing, yeah, we're not entirely sure. We figure his second TC is back here, and yeah, we weren't sure. We are gonna go check the side of his base over here to go wrap around the side, and we do find the TC here. So, well, we're gonna just dive it. I felt like I was so far ahead. Like even if I lose units here, idle time is probably the most important part here. So we're just gonna kill some vills here, but we'll act like we've only killed 1 vill right now, right? So even if he was perfect, like his regular 2 TC, he would be plus 14 vills. He'd be at 34 vills, technically 6 villagers ahead. But literally, because of our cistern buff, which is only at 10%, we'd actually be around 33 vills to his 34 vills. So you can see that up to this point, and even if we drop another cistern, that's going to help us scale here. And we do pull a couple more villagers onto stone. Our eco is a little bit bigger. We can afford pulling villagers onto stone without affecting our military production, because that's the big thing. You really don't want to slow down your military production. Yeah, it's just like it was weird because he kept like playing like hard, and I was confused because he said GG. But it just kind of helps. It just shows you, like, even with a second TC with a decent timing, and you don't kill these vills, your eco off of 2 cisterns. This isn't even a 3 cistern play. 2-3 cisterns, the late cisterns, our eco is pretty much par, you know. And if I drop a 3rd cistern, it's gonna just help me there. And obviously, if you're getting good damage in and you're not able to, then you don't have to worry about a second TC as much, right? You can just 1 TC all in. But if you aren't getting good damage, and if I can tell, like when we're playing, that, you know, I don't have these 15 villager kills and I'm behind, I just switch my macro up, right? We have the wood for it. It's just a matter of pulling like 4 villagers onto stone. Take a minute, maybe, yeah, max a minute, maybe 2, minute and a half. Buy some stone up. You know, some of the stone is coming passively in from these other things, and yeah, you can just drop your second TC. And so that's the flexibility again with the Byzantines, is you don't have to commit to a specific build order off rip, and I almost feel like it's actually a worse decision. I think you want to go full aggro, get some scouts, get a really good idea of what your opponent is doing, and you can react to pretty much anything he does, and be fine because you've got the cisterns to help keep you a little bit of an edge to keep ahead, right? So we pull a bunch of villagers over onto deer, running short on food. We're going to mass up spearmen here and start prepping for a ram push. We were floating a lot of wood, so we probably should have dropped some more stuff here. We're trying to drop our blacksmith, switching this up, dialectus over here, conscriptio over here, and I think we also go dialectus over here eventually because we want to get our wheelbarrow upgrade, which is really late. So that's, I guess, one bad side, is that we only have 2 villagers on gold. So your villager kills is really where you're getting a lot of gold from. Possible thing is to try to commit an earlier 3rd villager onto gold. This is going to help you getting those upgrades in a lot nicer timing. So we're just going to mass up. We don't have to worry about this. His eco count is supposedly stabilizing at this point, right? But again, we're really 15% more, so we're really an additional 4 or 5 villagers ahead. So Um, we're feeling really comfy at this point. We know we've got a big window. Like if he continues to survive, if he can hold this second TC, we have to go for a second TC ourselves, pretty much immediately, right? And so that's the flexibility thing. Or you can go for trade as well, but trade is definitely a viable option. What was our market here? Sapahi and Arbitrarier. Arbitrary? Can't remember the name exactly. Yeah, so that's actually not a half bad trade post because these mercenary crossbowmen are really strong, especially against HRE. So we got our first ram up, and we're just gonna get pressure and try to find some damage around the back. We try to drop a tower on this other gold, but it was way late, and he already had another tower there. And yeah, that's pretty much it, right? This is continuing just because I mean this match is pretty much over at this point. It looks like our equals are the same, but he's stabilizing, and we idled a bunch of those just now too. He's stabilizing while we're on the next steps of aggression, right? So Rams are gonna come in and he's gonna try to do something. Our army is wrapped around and come back, and his army's trying to head over, and he's gonna drop his emergency repairs. And again, a little bit of bad micro by us by putting our horsemen in the front there. Once we snipe these spearmen out, we're okay with diving the horsemen. They trade decently against men-at-arms. And yeah, we're just speeding it up because there isn't much left to say about this match at this point. So he taps out. So again, one of those things where that early aggression secured that front gold, makes him invest in a tower in the back. And those things are important and do add up. And if we had played it even better, we would have been hitting his second TC, denying second TC, denying gold. So there's a lot of things that can happen that got to be looked at. So and then this last one that we'll look at for the day is Byzantines against China. Again, we're just doing one TC into our options, right? One TC into flexibility is kind of the play here that we're looking for. Same build order in terms of our opening. Cistern, quadrant splits, gold. Gorge is a bit of an interesting map because it's a very direct and short distance to rush. The big tree line here in the back makes raiding a little bit like split on one side or the other, never a full wraparound, and your initial base always has to expand sideways. Basically, it's gonna have to expand sideways and then back. So it's got some interesting little aspects to it, right? Scouting, he goes around middle. He's picked up 3 sheep, and we've gone through middle. We picked up 4 sheep. So similar patterns in the sense that he goes forward first, but he doesn't really go deep enough. And I think we do a little bit better job going deep past that his initial points. And then he goes to the north here, which is lucky for him, right? Because if he had gone south, we would have pretty much gone it. But he wants to clean up his side 100% first, which is a smart move. Well, let me switch this. And here we can see kind of the build. Go up to 3 on wood, and then we're going to rally back to food, similar to our Mongol build, where we go up to 6-3-3, and then we put another villager on the gold. Again, something that I've been contemplating. But this game we do a little bit different. We collect enough gold for our expilatories upgrade, and then we're going to put 2 villagers on the stone, and we're just going to rally more villagers onto wood. We wanted to get up to 5 or 6. We really wanted to focus, again, the 1 TC aggression, and see what our opponent does and react. And Byzantines is able to quickly react and counter and be flexible in ways that other civs can't because of the cisterns, dialectus, and conscriptio. So our opponent isn't going for a 2 TC build. We're not privy to any of this information yet. If we look at our scout, he's just going around the back. Timing wise, we know if we come in and we spot a second TC, again, not end of the world. We can get some pressure going, and we can rotate into a second TC. As you can see, our spread, we've already got villagers onto stone. We're getting our second one up, and we're in a good spot. We do see this Barbican going up, and we do get a villager kill. So that's pretty important. We've gotten 2 villager kills, so that's 40 gold we've gone back. And again, little edges, right? For example, this time we did a little bit cleaner about our cisterns. After these 2 villager kills, we get an additional 10%, so we're 25 vills right now. We're 3 villagers ahead. There must be a little bit of a timing mistake, because he shouldn't be just a full villager ahead. Unless one of his villagers is considered by the Imperial official, which is very possible that one of his villagers is considered... Yeah, his Imperial official is considered a villager. So we kill this off. And we're just slowing it down. It's costing us troops. Like, we lose a couple horsemen. We get some idle time, though. And the earlier we kind of disrupt this, the better. But we know that our opponent didn't go second TC because his stone didn't have any stone mined out when we went by it. So we know this is a 1 TC kind of a play. It might be an aggression play. We're not really sure what it was going to be, but it's a 1 TC play. If we had gone 2 TC, we would be further ahead. But if he went 1 TC aggro, here in about 2 minutes, he might be pushing into us. And possibly, and we'd have to be defending perfectly to stop it, basically, right? We'd have to do a really good job to defend ourselves. So, with this kind of a build, it gives us the flexibility to get to be the aggressors, right? We've already got archers out. We've got a range out, a conscriptio. We switched this to dialectus. Got a blacksmith in the back, and right now we're rotating onto deer. And we're a villager idle, which should be on stone right now. We snipe another villager here. We do see that he's got a nice Jugunu mass. They do have 4.5 tile range, so you do outrange them with your bow by half a tile, but it is kind of a pain to micro it. You're not going to get great trades, but you can technically out micro a Zugunu mass. And because we see Zugunu, we know he's going to commit heavily to Zugunu. Zugunu are a cheap, like they're 30, 30, 20, right? So they're not cheap, right? But they're 80 resources and they're spread resources. So it really allows you to just constantly keep them out when you got resources, because it's not, you need to dedicate too many on one resource or the other. Archery range is going to our second one, and we've gone up to triple cistern at this point. So if he was 2 TC, right? If he was a 2 TC play, we're at 9 minutes. His second TC would have been up at the 5-minute mark, 5:30, 6-minute mark, basically. We'll say 5:30, right? Just for argument's sake. So he would have had, especially since these are song villagers that they're producing at 15 seconds. So at 5:30, he would have been 3.5 minutes times 4, 12. Probably, 12 villagers. 14 villagers more. So give 14 to this, you'd be at 47 villagers with song, right? I mean, and that's assuming. Thing is, if he rushes that, he doesn't get his song at the same timing that he does. So it's probably closer to like 10 villagers, because your song would have been delayed, right? And he would have gotten less villagers. You're not getting 4 a minute now. You're getting 3. So probably lost. Yeah, let's just say 10 villagers, right around 10 villagers, right? So he's at 43 villagers. Right now we're at 32 at 15%. So we're getting +3, plus another 1.5, so 4.5. So we're at 37. So it'd be 37 to like 40-ish villagers, 43 villagers. Again, that second TC, there's a lot of what ifs about that second TC as well. So we're not by the 9-minute mark. We're behind, but we're not terribly behind, right? It's not game-ending difference, and he still has to. He's investing in this, and he'd have to be defending his villagers, and he wouldn't have this army, right? There wouldn't be this army. This Barbican of the Sun, all these things, where would his second TC be? It'd be tight. Barbican placement, he wouldn't have gotten this Barbican placement up front. We would have dove it. So it completely changes the dynamics in that regard. So that's why I do like the aggro into flexibility. You're just able to respond quickly to a lot of different things to your opponent, right? Drop double ranges. Now he can invest in Imperial Official to make these Zugunu produce faster than 15 seconds. But we're at 9 seconds right now, right? He'd have to invest in Imperial Official, and we're just getting this forever without having to affect our macro in any case. And now, because even though he's got an army, right, we can dive this with Triumph. Imagine if he was 2 TC, right? If he was 2 TC, no Chugunu out, this wood line is still idle, right? I could trade out all of these horsemen for that, and I'd be in a perfectly fine spot. So right now we've gotten 7 villager kills. This is with a Barbican and Chugunu out. So the horseman and the Triumph really gives them a lot of, and the Expilatori's upgrade gives them a lot of damage against your opponents, right? So you get 9, and then you get +4, and then you get +2. So you're doing a lot of damage to those villagers. Okay, another push here. We come in, we see a villager that is weak on health. We could pick that one out, and then we're just gonna fall back. We're gonna lose one horseman. But behind this, we got a nice mass building up. We are getting our survival techniques late, but better late than never. And we need to get our upgrade. So here we go. We finally get our siege engineering upgrade, and it's like a 12-second research time. That's nuts, right? 24 seconds for the rest of them, so it's very quick. You don't have to wait for these upgrades. If your opponent's pushing you heavy and he's got mass stuff, you can get your arrow upgrades fairly quickly. It's not a large transition point. And the same with once you hit castle. Those upgrades, all those things, those tech switches come in so much quicker as Byzantines. So we're just massing units at this point. We're keeping these ranges as busy as we can. We have the resources to do it, keeping our town center going, our hippodrome going. So that's just kind of the key here, just keeping these things going. And we're going up to a 4 cistern now, right? And this is Song TC, or yeah, this is Song 1 TC China, right? He's building villages at 15 seconds. So, and this is what I mean by the flexibility and the strength of the Byzantines, right? He has to invest into this Song with the Barbican, which is similar to our cost, right? But his villagers are producing a little bit faster than ours are at 15 seconds. We got 20 seconds. Let's say we don't kill any villagers, right? Perfect macro game for him, perfect macro game for me. 48 villagers for him on that Song. We've got 38, but we're going to go up to 4. And that's 20% of 3.8. And that's basically 8 villagers. So we're par for the course. We're going to be a little bit behind, right? Like 2 villagers behind. Again, but we haven't lost that tempo. He had to invest into this in a different way than you invest for cisterns, right? Cisterns, we got 1 villager mining stone while we're doing our production normally, and he had to invest his beginning opening eco into this Barbican of the Sun, right? So that's the tempo difference, right? And that's why I also don't like the cistern rush, because the tempo difference is palpable. You really do feel it. So army count, we're up to 37. He's at 30. You can tell we're both cranking units. His villager count is, even though we killed a lot of villagers, is passing ours, but we've got a 20% buff. So really, we're at 48 villagers right now. And 48 villagers and being able to invest in aggro, right? Cairo Safan getting some good burn damage in. This will this house him? No, it'll get close to housing him, but it won't house him yet. But he brings his army in. We're gonna get our our push in, he gets his spearmen here. We're going to focus on the spearmen with our archers. And once there's only down to one spearman there, we're just going to dive with our horsemen here. Once he starts pulling back the Chocanu, we should have A-moved our archers here, but we do try to body block with our horsemen. Maybe a little bit deeper we should have gone to trade out a little bit better there. So a little bit of a mistake here, but he's almost housed now, right? Losing that village is big, right? Oh, I guess he lost a lot of army, so he's not even close to being housed now. But being able to take even just that and that pressure is big, right? Chocanu rip up Critiscm because of the triple shots, or any ram really. So we do have to defend this proactively. But yeah, this just shows the strength of this, because I've been able to invest basically in my normal 1 TC aggro comp. And if he goes 2 TC, I invest in 2 TC as well, but later with a better eco than he does, so it doesn't hurt me as much. So flexibility is definitely there, right? There's a lot more flexibility. We just fully dive here because there's nothing left for this army, right? He's got 13 Chokanus. I think they might be inside this. Maybe they're inside the Barbican of the Sun. I don't know, but he doesn't have a mass here to really fight these archers. It's only 15 archers, but we can sit under this TC and lose these guys constantly while we hit the back over here. So we're sitting pretty. We're in a good spot, and we know we are. Yeah, we're just shutting down his eco back here. Behind this Critiscm is just going to do damage. He forgets about this Barbican. This is something that wouldn't happen in higher elo. You'd probably have to follow this back a little bit and come back and re-push. But it's alright because we got other stuff coming up behind this. More aggro coming in. And we're doing a pretty good job with our resources, using them all up. I'd like to see more archers in queue at this point. And we do find this pocket of villagers over here. So again, it's able to save a couple of them, but it's not the best of situations for him. So he does have Zuganus over here, is where they were. So we do have to fall back here a little bit. But the big thing is here, right? I just gotta take these. I just gotta snipe these spearmen. I just gotta snipe the spearmen. So as long as I snipe these spearmen from my horsemen, we're not gonna be in a bad spot. So I probably should have been focused on sniping the spearmen for my horsemen and not worried about the ones hitting my archers. So a little bit of a mistake on my part in some sense, but again, our archer mass has stayed healthy and safe throughout, so there's not much you can do about that. Critiscm are going to come back in and burn everything. Behind this, his villager's gone. So yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic with them. The cistern just slowly boosting your eco and letting you adapt to whatever your opponents do. Obviously, our opponents were making Zuinu and Spearmen, so we didn't drop as barracks out, but I guess we could have. It wouldn't have mattered too much. We're starting to float a lot of wood. Floating wood is better than floating anything, I think, because you can invest that wood into farms, etc. So, yeah, I've been playing with the Byzantines. I'm going to keep playing with them and just get a good feel for them. But I think this is kind of the best way to be playing them, is just 1 TC, hippo, aggro, and just adapt to your opponent, because you have the flexibility to do so as the Byzantines. So one thing, I guess, is like there's going to be matchups where you're going to want to go fast castle. There's going to be matchups where you want to go 2 TC boom. But I think just feeling the 1 TC vanilla build against your opponents first is a really good kind of a base gauge. So hope you guys liked it. Hopefully I can start getting some more videos out, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.